What up, y'all? Appreciate you showing up, hanging out, listening to my dumbass. Like and subscribe. So. It's pretty amazing, right? You look at what video games is now. You look at the industry. You look at the big three, right? And you say, well, you figure, oh, Sony's going to be number one forever, right? Not so much. Oh, Xbox is going to be last place forever, right? Not so much. Oh, Nintendo's going to Nintendo. Yeah, pretty much. But, you have games, you have donkey unicorns, you have ponies who are ridiculous. And why do they fight this fight that it's a losing fight? We all see it. You see the media start to turn a little bit. And, you wonder what's the end goal for the donkey unicorns and the ponies? Where will they land? Or will they always fight, make up stuff? I was listening to Z's podcast just before this, and I get it. I used to listen to it a little bit before, but it's a lot of yelling. It's a lot of talking over each other. It's like the dozens, basically, except video game arguments. It's fine. And there's some entertainment in that, but there's not too much truth. Post Up was on there, so he spits a lot of facts. Him versus J-Dub and some other dude I never heard before. Anyway, not gonna recap that because it's not that important. Still playing Starfield, still playing those mods. Oh man, that game is crazy nice. But the main thing I wanted to talk about was Sony and how their actions or lack of actions is starting to paint a narrative that they are not able to control. Let me explain. So they haven't been to Gamescom, which is it is the biggest video game conference in the world every year, right? And it's the biggest by volume of visitors. I forget how many, but it's bigger. It's bigger. I think the venue was actually bigger too. It's in Germany, Cologne. Every year, it's giant, right? And it's very important because it is kind of the central hub for the European market, all of Europe, basically, right? Sony has not been to Gamescom, whatever it is, in like 5 years. This is the 5th year they haven't been there. Now, some people will say, oh, they're not there because they don't have any games. That might be true, but also the real reason why they're not there, and this should be troubling to ponies and donkey unicorns, and this is telling to the state of PlayStation and Sony as a whole. They can't afford it. Now, let me say that they can afford it, but given that you figure how much are they going to spend on that versus putting it into games, which they are lacking right now, in that respect, they can't afford it because they need to put every single dime and penny into making these games, which they don't have. You see the conundrum that Sony's in right now? Now, ponies and donkey unicorns, they're going to say, oh, sales numbers for the consoles. I'm like, y'all are not playing a console without a game. We're talking about games. Push all the console stuff aside. Games. You know what Microsoft showed? You know what Xbox showed in their games showcase? Games. I know I said this before. Nintendo, what'd they show? Games. Sony, what'd you show? Technically, they showed games. Games that people want to play? Not so much. And that's a whole thing, right? So back in the day, the ponies and the donkey unicorns used to say, oh, Xbox ain't got no games. Well, the actual truth was Xbox had games, but that whole saying is to infer that they don't have games that people want to play. They don't have bangers, if you will, right? Now we flash forward to today. Sony literally has no games this year, first party. And we could say, for real, they got no games. Also, Sony got no games. PlayStation got no games. No games that people want to play. Now, I've heard the argument where ponies are like, oh, why don't you list a game that isn't also on PlayStation? Ponies and donkey unicorns and little pea brains, they're missing the point. The point is, if it is multi-platform, for the most part, not all of them, but for the most part, Xbox got it on Game Pass. And that right there destroys PlayStation. That, I've heard somebody say it. I don't know who it was, but somebody said it. I think it was on Boomstick's show. They said that Sony isn't afraid of Xbox. Sony's afraid of Game Pass. PlayStation is afraid of Game Pass because Call of Duty on Game Pass wins. You got $70 on PlayStation, you got Game Pass over here, however, whatever plan you pick. Game Pass wins. Any game that is multi-plat and is also on Game Pass wins. You look at their conference, almost all their games were on Game Pass. I think I forgot what that game was called, with the black lady, and I was like, I don't think I want to play that one anyway. I don't know, maybe. But most of the games, Game Pass. It's like, it's no brainer. I need to get Game Pass because of Call of Duty and all these other games. The reason why I'm still subbed to Game Pass is because they release their first-party games day and date. If they didn't release their first-party games day and date, I would maybe possibly think about canceling it because I don't play a lot. You know, I got life to do, right? But when I do play, when a first-party banger comes out, I'm playing it because I'm subbed. And if they like, how I do the math is like, yo, if I play 3 full-price games a year, it pays for itself, basically. I think it's more than that. Maybe it's 3.5 now, or 3 in the indie, whatever the math is now. And I've always done that, you know. And since it's like, oh, Starfield, Forza Horizon, Halo, Hellblade 2, I played all those through the sub. It's worth it. And so the thing about going back to the Cologne, the Sony not going, it shows the industry. It shows the public who don't know any better and the public that do know better. Yes, they haven't been there, right? But people don't think about that. People think about, oh my gosh, Xbox just had the best conference in the world they ever had, the best conference ever created, regardless of the platform. Nintendo's was cool. Sony's sucked. And so now you're like, well, why aren't they going to Gamescom? It's like, they ain't got no games. It's like, wait, but they do have games that are like literally releasing like right after the game. Why don't they show a little bit of something? People get stuff in their minds. They say, well, I guess they're scared, or they don't think that their games are good enough, or you can create a whole bunch of scenarios as to why Sony's not there. Like I said before, the real reason is they're trying to save money. They don't want to waste money on the biggest games conference in the world to show what they could show, I guess, on YouTube or whatever. Business-wise, fiscally, yeah, that makes sense. But forward-facing, zeitgeist-wise, it doesn't make sense, and it's a bad look. And that is the things that these companies need to realize. The zeitgeist, or the face of the company, needs to realize that people are looking at what you're doing, what you're putting out, how you're behaving, and they're judging you, basically. You know, Xbox got no games. That used to be something that people said because it was like, hey, Xbox got no games. But now, Xbox got all the games. Sony has no games. PlayStation has no games. And now we're saying that. And it's true. And think about this, Donkey Unicorns and Ponies. How long did it take Xbox to go from Xbox got no games to Xbox got all the games, they just did the best show ever? How long? I'll wait. I'll tell you. 10 years. It took them 10 years to get where they are with a lot of money. A lot of money backing them. It took them 10 years. It took them 10 years with all the money. Now, granted, Sony is in a better position than Microsoft was. But that doesn't change the fact that they can't magically make these games. And they're not magically making these games anyway because they can't afford them. You see the conundrum that they're in? They have trained the media and they've trained the public to expect a certain type of game that they can't make anymore. What are they going to do? Now, yes, the Spider-Man 3 experiment where they're going to chop one AAA game into 3 pieces. Will that work? Probably, because, ponies and donkey unicorns are very gullible. They'll fall for anything. We'll see. I mean, that's maybe next year, maybe the year after that. Who knows? You got Wolverine. Dude, I saw that the second leak footage for Wolverine. Dude, who? Did everybody from Insomniac quit us? I know it's not final, but geez, I was like, first of all, Wolverine doesn't move like that. Second of all, how heavy is Wolverine? Because he's got a lot of metal in him. I don't know how heavy antiantinum is. Antonyms. I don't know how heavy antonyms is. But, yeah, I was like, this looks like an Assassin's Creed palette swap game. He's jumping through trees. I was like, what is this? It was goofy. And then there's a whole controversy of they say Sweet Baby Inc. worked on it and they uglified the was it Jean Grey? It was Jean Grey. Like they showed Jean Grey and the lighting was all bad anyway, but they showed Jean Grey like the first and I was like, okay, that's all right. And then they showed her again and it was like, ring. I was like, what? First of all, what is wrong with the lighting? It's like it's messed up in both shots. And then Jean Grey looks like rough. I'm like, what? I know these are just not final, but come on, son. Come on, son. So we'll see. I don't know. It's crazy. But yeah, the whole Sony not going to Gamescom, it's not a big deal for those who know, but for the layman and the casuals, it's a big deal. And it's also a big deal given that they did not impress this summer and with their games. And so maybe, them not going is a admission that they don't have anything good to show. And that, that illustrates the state of PlayStation right now, which is not good. I listened to a bit of Colin Moriarty's, he's going through the revenue and the profits of the history of PlayStation. I'm like, can you talk about the games for a second? Astrobot, that's a cute little game. I'm not saying it's bad. It's cute. It's cool. It's like, I think every platform should have a game like that. Actually, I think the dev said that Astrobot isn't tied to PlayStation to be cool if we could blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, okay. I know I mentioned this before, but imagine if Asobi made an Astrobot for Nintendo. And imagine if they made one for Xbox. A red one and a green one. Imagine, that would be the dopest. That would be so unifying for the industry. And it would slap Sony in the face too. But at the same time, I'm like, yo, that would be dope. That would be cool as hell. Let's go. I would play a Xbot, Astrobot, Xbot version. Xbot. And then Nintendbot. I don't know what they would call Nintendo. Rob the Robot. Maybe change him, looks like Rob or something. It'd be dope. I'd be like, yeah, let's go. That'd be cool. And they have like the same kind of premise. The history of all the little, consoles pop up and you got to go find all the consoles. That'd be dope. Nintendo's would be a long game. They got so many damn consoles. But Microsoft's would be pretty quick. Maybe they have to dip dive back into like put a Zune in there. That'd be bad. But that would be cool. That would give me hope for video games, because Sony's been having a stranglehold on the industry in a way that isn't healthy for the industry. Wasn't healthy for the industry, and I'm glad that Microsoft and Nintendo and all these other companies are here to counteract and counterbalance the kind of not nice things that Sony's been doing in the industry for forever. Let's just say, I don't know. But anyway, appreciate you hanging out, showing, listen, like and subscribe. Let me know in the comments below what you think about the Sony not going to Gamescom. I know it's not a big deal, but is it a big deal? And if you're in Europe, I have a few Europe peeps. Let me know like what do you think in Europe, because I know PlayStation is more popular in Europe, but if they're not showing up, do you think that they feel that they don't need to show because they're so big, and it's like they don't need to, or is it like a turning point where it's like, oh, they should have showed up so they can keep, you can't just like slack off. If you're in number one place, that's like when you see the runners, they're running, and they're like, oh, I won, yeah, and they slow down, then the second place dude just blasts right by them, and you're not the winner anymore. That's kind of what's happening with Sony, PlayStation right now. So, anyway, and I'll catch you on the next one. Till the wait.